Hey guys, Red and Stack here, and welcome to a mod preview for Europa Barbarorum 2. Now, for a very long time, I've considered Europa Barbarorum 2 to be the closest you can get to a Rome Remastered. However, that has changed now that the Rome Remaster has been announced. But however, I still consider this mod a fantastic and amazing mod. And almost a successor to Rome 1, to be honest. And I'll explain why as we go in. Now, what you can be offered with, you can do multiplayer battles, you can do a hot seat, you can do historical battles / sort of scenario battles, which I think is kind of cool. However, you're here for the main campaign, and that's also why I'm here as well. So now the map has been expanded, so you can actually, Scotland hasn't been cut off as it was in Rome 1, and obviously you can play all the way. I think the original Rome 1 map goes through about here. And now it's extended to all this as well, which I think is amazing. I think some of Africa's been extended as well. It's been pushed up a bit, essentially. So yeah, now there's quite a few things at the description that's been put in. It's like it will tell you the difficulty, which I think is kind of handy. It's something that I've put in Lucium as well. The roster, it tells you about the roster. It gives you a brief introduction of that, and also gives you an introduction of the entire faction. And also says here, history needs to be written. So that's to show that history is what you make it in Total War. Now, from what I know, there is a AI, I think Skynet AI, I think is in this mod, which improves the campaign AI and battle AI. That's all I know about that. Obviously, we'll note that the complete faction select screen is completely different. The minimap's been moved over here. Difficulties down here, along with the options. The main description and stuff is in front of us in the center. And all the factions over here, along with the campaign rules. So let's go through the factions. So first of all, you have Rome, which starts off down here, and isn't like how it is in base Rome 1, where there's 4 different Roman factions. It's all been merged into one. Now moving on, you got Carthage, which start off down here. They control a bit of Spain and Sardinia and a bit of Northern Africa, of course. Then moving over to Macedon, which also one thing you'll notice that all the factions are called how they are called in this time period. So Macedonia, Epiros, which I can see controls a bit of Italy, a bit of Eastern Italy, and main chunk of Greece. Koinon Hellenon, which is like the Greek state, so Sparta and Athens, etc. Then you have the Arche Seleucia, which is the Seleucid Empire, which as you can see, big empire. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which is obviously Egypt. Egypt is not Bronze Age as they are in Rome 1. They are actually much more historically accurate, which I think is a brilliant feature. Bactria, which is a faction far into the east, which I don't really know too much about Bactria, but obviously you can read all the introduction, but I don't really have time to read all that. Hayastan, which starts off over here, so perhaps kind of like Georgia / Armenia kind of thing, I don't know. Maybe you can see some resemblance there, perhaps. Pontus, which you'll recognise from Rome 1. Palava, Palava, I think, or Parthia. You can just call it Parthia. Obviously, Parthia is in Rome 1 as well, and they start off in the east as you can sort of invade them as well, which is cool. The Edui, which is another Gallic faction, or the one of the replacements for the Gauls. No, is it Gauls? Yeah, it is Gauls. So the Edui, the Arvanoi, which is another Gallic faction or Gaul faction, the Britannoi, which is essentially your replacement from Britain, and they obviously start off in where Winchester is, and yeah, even what I like about the Britannoi, and it's not just because I'm British myself and live in sort of around that little bit there. I actually like the idea of you have to conquer the British Isles before you can go elsewhere, which is something I quite like. The Lusitani, which is Spain, or the Western, or perhaps Portugal more. Yeah, I would say they're more Portuguese, aren't they? Or early Portugal. Suebo, which is your replacement for Germania. And as you can see, they're starting where Pomerania is now, and you can sort of go up and take over Denmark and Scandinavia, or go into Germany, or push east if you want. The Kitai, which is a replacement for Dacia, or Dacia. And they sort of over in by the Carpathian Mountains. The Sabu Wagawawam, which is an Arabian faction. Not don't know too much about them, but apart from their name being pretty difficult to pronounce. So they start down there. The Sakaruka, which is a Far Eastern faction, which is kind of cool. The Saramate, which is like the Saramantians / Scythians, so they start off up here. A big chunk of the map. The Mamla Masilium, which is like Numidia, essentially, replacement for them. And they start off down here. Pergamon, which is almost like ancient Troy in my opinion. But obviously different place. Pergamon's over here, in where Troy used to stand. Taxashila, which is an Indian nation, which I will cover in the units in a minute. I'll do the units in a second. There's Taxashila starts off over here. The Lua Guanas, which starts off sort of like Poland faction, I guess. A bit closer to Swebo. The Chimeris Bosporus, which is sort of a Crimean faction, which is cool. The Arakoi, which is another Spanish nation, further to the east. The Boyoi, which I don't know if that's how you pronounce them, or the Boy, perhaps is probably better to, may as well just say that. They sort of start off in like Bohemia area, so then another like Germanic faction, and then lastly you got the that's weird, it's a different name there. The Halmalkot Hanabati, which is like the Sinai sort of nation. They're obviously quite sandwiched in between Egypt and Seleucids, so it's quite a difficult faction, as you can see, very challenging. But anyway, that's all. Let us proceed. As you know, I'll go ahead and show the units, and then we shall get in with the campaign, which I'm looking forward to showing. Okay, one thing I would like to show you before we get into the unit part is you can do different little maps here. So you can do like the Ziggurat of Babylon and have that little bit in the background. Belerion, Colossus of Rhodes, so you can have that statue in the background of a battle, and there's quite a few other ones as well. And I believe there are different like custom models for settlements as well, so Roman, Western Greek, Eastern Greek, etc. Each with, I think you can only go to, is it level 1 defensive? Let me check. Yeah, it's just defensive. So you can only do level 1 defensive, because obviously you wouldn't be having ballista towers or cannon towers in this period. Right, let's move into units. Now, if you watch my previous mod previews, you will note that I go through and go through the entire roster of factions for the campaign. However, instead of that, I'm going to go through just 8 factions. And instead of like 29, whatever, 20, 30, something of these. Because otherwise we'll be here all day. I think 8 is a nice little, fair little look at. So we'll have a look at Rome. Probably look at Carthage, why not? I would like to have a look at Egypt. The British guys. Britannia. And what else do we want to look at? Imagine the Gallic roster will be very similar to Britain. We'll go for Macedonia. We'll have a look at the Greek roster. Is it Taxashila, the Indian faction, isn't it? We'll have a look at them. Parthia might be an interesting roster. I think elephants are a thing. And I'm trying to think which is the best one to look at. Look at these guys. These like the actually in second thought, I'll go for Bactria or Pontus. No, I'll go for the Seleucid Empire. Go on, that'd be an interesting one. So let's see when it loads. Any second now. Okay, here we go. So Roman roster. Oh, I don't think I've gone ahead and turn this on. Yeah, it needs to be late, which displays all the roster. So the Romans. There's not many things I can pick out that I find interesting. You got the mercenaries down this bit here, so you got elephants. You can get elephant mercenaries and scorpions and onagers. Let's move up a bit, see if I spot anything else. The Roman roster doesn't. There's one. That's the Antescani elite legionnaires. So there's a few like notable Roman ones, but obviously don't expect like legionnaires and legionaries and all that. Moving over to Egypt, you got the Phorokotoi Epilokodoi. They're quite cool looking. The Phalangetai, oh these guys are cool. The Agamai Phalangetai. So they're pretty cool. I like the look of them, definitely. And all the cavalry is pretty cool. It's a nice little headpiece on the horse there. I find that quite cool. The elephant one's a little different. That's the Indian elephant, I think. Yeah, so they actually have their own elephant units instead of just mercenaries, which I think looks pretty cool. Moving over to Macedon, which got some. So that's a standout Spartan unit there. Moving over to the Phalangitai. Pretty sure we cover them in another roster. The Uextais, and they got the Peltasts, which looks pretty cool. And you got some some of them in the Egypt roster as well. So a lot of units will be the same for each roster. Some will repeat themselves. Moving over to Parthia. I think you got every elephant. You actually no, you do have elephant units, right? Okay, I thought you did. I'd be surprised if you didn't for Parthia. I got those guys. The guys with big horn helmets, which is pretty cool. So yeah, very nice. I think there's like is that a hybrid unit? Yeah, they got an axe on the back as well. That's pretty cool. I got a few more cab troops as well, so that's all pretty good. Moving up to the other side of things, we got Carthia. I'm looking at that and I want to say Carth from Game of Thrones. No, it's Carthage is what I want to say. So yeah, look pretty cool. The Hostatos Miracatus looks pretty cool. I'm gonna say pretty cool a lot. I tend to say that quite a bit. Very fantastic, I should say. Maybe mix it up a bit. But yeah, they don't seem to have chariots as well. That's pretty cool. Very high charge stat on them as well. We don't have any. I can only get elephants through mercenary rosters, which is pretty cool. Which is you'd expect us, but I did kind of expect some elephants for Carthage, but there you go. Moving on to like the Iceni, I want to say I'm gonna say Iceni, but it's really just the Britons, really. The Arairoi look pretty cool. They're the Protestant nobles, so they're pretty, look pretty good. Got some those chariots, yeah, those chariots. Got some cav, not that much cav, which is to be expected, and some slingers. Very nice looking. Moving over to the Taxashila, which is an Indian faction in the east. Varat Shakashituke, something like that. That's a cool little unit. I like the look of them. You got the Kassa. I'm not going to bother pronouncing that. I could try, but I'd probably piss off someone in the comment section below. The Parasachari, some cab unit. Of course, I can get elephants. Get some more cab there. I can get chariots as well. Very nice. So yeah, quite cool. Moving over to end it off, the Seleucids. So Regalan and the golden guys, the golden boys. The Pezoi Kolkoi. That's cool. They got a lot of cab, damn. And of course they can recruit elephants as well. So yeah, quite a big roster for the Seleucids. Wow, massive. Of course, chariots there. So yeah, very cool. Anyway, now that we've finished with the units, I think we shall proceed with the campaign. Now, one thing I'd like to say is that I apologise for how late this video has been. I recorded the install guide about over a month ago, and I did get one comment which I will point out, where so we're saying about the loading times, and yes, the loading times take up quite a bit of time, and so you do have to be patient in those times. So, and there's nothing you can really do to boost the loading time, because this mod is just a huge mod, and it does take up quite a bit of storage and processing power on your PC. So yeah, I apologise for like the month wait for this. I was kind of busy with real life stuff and starting off a new job, so I was quite busy with that. But here we are. I'm finally doing this. One thing, you get the successor system, so you have an ancillary, which is obviously in Rome 1 you could pick a fashion heir, which is a feature I really wish they kept in Medieval 2. And you can actually basically just pass an ancillary down to whoever you want to be the next family faction heir after your faction leader dies, and the next faction heir. So after the next, who you want to be the faction heir after the faction heir becomes the faction leader. If that makes any sense. So you just explain. So you just hand the ancillary down to them. People in flight, new guys. Now new guys is something that I'm going to point out it's kind of funny. When you start the game, your alliances go through, which is through the script. So as you can see, the Erdui and the Aranoi have united, and the Koinon, Helenon, and Ptolemy, which is the faction over here. And relations have improved with Egypt. So I'm going to show us off as Egypt first, because Egypt, as you may remember from the thumbnail, Alexandria is the thumbnail. So I'm literally where it is now. So yeah, now as you can see, a lot of stuff has changed on the campaign. I think if I go up here a bit and come down here and show you. You can see the character strap models have changed. So you've got the captain one here, and that's the same for every single faction. Obviously, there's quite a few little bits on the map. So you've got the pyramids of Giza, got a wander outpost here, which is cool, and you've got the great lighthouse of Alexandria, and obviously you've got minor settlements, which I believe you can use merchants and send merchants over and stuff. Diplomats have been reskinned, the settlements have been reskinned. I think the settlement battle map models are completely different as well. As to base medieval 2. You've got quite a few resources, I believe. Grain, that's cool. Wine, livestock, wine, we've covered that. Is there anything else? Exotic animals, that's one. And there's a few more that you'll encounter as we go through, I imagine. Oh, salt, that's one. And is that one there? No. Okay. Enough of me. One thing you'll notice that the fleets have actually, instead of just being like one ship, as you might remember from normal Medieval 2 and Rome 1, they've actually been giving like a fleet model, which is something I quite like. And that's something I really like that. Because it's just like, it's a bit odd it being one ship when it's meant to be like a big fleet. So, I quite like that. So yeah, the family trees, every faction has a family tree, and it's quite an extensive one at that. So you can see, quite a big one. Basilius Ptolemaeus and his son, and yeah, it's a huge family tree. A lot of members. The loyalty I noticed isn't the best. I think that's the thing I found in the mod, is that the loyalty seems to be kind of terrible. I don't know if that changes over time, but from what I can see, it's just not very good. So you can get mercenary units around. Mercenary rosters are like, or the mercenaries you can get is very extensive. Obviously, every faction, every guy's gonna have biography. At least main characters. No, actually, no, this guy has a biography as well. Yeah, something. But yeah, quite a few different traits, loads of traits, loads of ancillaries as well, potential success. So that's the successor ancillary you pass down to your different family members that you want to be the next faction heir. So his son, for example, unless it's a daughter, I'm not really sure. I can't tell. No, that's a daughter. That is his son, I believe. Although they look the same. As you can see, you can buy a fleet. You can buy the rosters here at Alexandria are quite extensive. Obviously, there's different buildings. So let me click on it first. There's different buildings you can build, like a farming building, a winery, port, road, etc. You can go through this for hours. And each settlement, is going to have like a little province thing, which give its own little bonus. As the Tomb of Alexander the Great, and the lighthouse there, which is its own little thing. So there's quite a bit of stuff as well. There's a lot of you guys to go through. So if it isn't obvious, I'd highly recommend to play this mod. It's so amazing. There's so many cool factions to play. And the map itself is huge. So I'm just showing Egypt, but it is beautiful. Let's just have another look at the Egyptian areas. Spies everything's got a different model. The assassins different, and even for Seleucus over there, it's very different. Even the rebels look different as well, which I think is cool. If that makes the rebels actually looks like an actual faction rather than just the rebels. So there's quite a few bits here. The quarry, another resource, honey as well. A lot of the whatever temple, I think it's a temple of Zeus or stuff. I don't really know too much about each history, ancient Greek history. I'm not too good at that. But we go toggle phone now and show the entire map. And as you can see, it's huge with the amount of factions all dotted about. One thing that I will point out, which is kind of funny, is Gigantus is also part of this mod. Essentially, just give him Germanic bodyguard infantry. It's just a little Easter egg in the mod, which I think is kind of nice. Although, as much as I love the Easter egg, I do think that it is kind of a waste of a faction slot, and because that's an entire faction, by the way. So I do think, yes, I like the Gigantus thing, but I do think you could maybe put another... You could really use that faction slot for another faction in the mod, like maybe someone over here, maybe another German faction, or a faction out into this, around this area perhaps, but fair enough, really. It's a funny little thing. We'll start off in India, so as you can see, India is all here. You don't have the entire of India, it's just sort of the western part of it. As you can see, quite a few rebel armies about. There is a ton of rebel armies and big rebel garrisons. That's to stop the AI from conquering things, or yourself from conquering settlements so easily. So there's Taxashila up here. You can see they've got their own little model up here. Another thing is the soundtrack as well. I'll put the volume up a bit so you can hear it. Right now it's nothing too extensive, but I think it's a nice little addition, the soundtrack. I think it's brilliant. So that's Taxashila with one settlement. Moving up further north a bit. I'll use the keys actually instead of the mouse. You got the Sakans, I can't remember how the faction called. That's the thing about being in different the native tongue names. I can't actually think of what the hell it was called before. Oh well. Another thing is these settlements have all been given the I say law friendly names, or the historically accurate names. So that's them up there. Then we got one settlement from my and a few armies. Moving down to Bactria. So you can see there's Bactria itself and a few other settlements around. They control, I think, 3 settlements. Very interesting. That's Bactria. Then you move over to the Seleucid Empire, which is bloody massive. They are huge. You can always mistake them for the rebels as well, but the rebels have been given a complete colour change, which is very nice. So the Seleucid Empire is a bloody powerhouse. And however, that can be their undoing because they are very spread out. They are actually at war with Egypt as well. Oh, that reminds me of diplomacy. Let's have a look through that. So the Egyptian style of allied with the Koine Helenon, the Numidia, I believe, and the Malkatu Nibatu. That's the guys down here. And they start off at war with Macedonia, Seleucids, Pontus, and the Elefuri. Oh, the Elefuri, I think, is Latin for rebels, or it's the rebel faction essentially. Rome is actually allied with Carthage, which is very interesting. I figured Rome would be at war with Carthage, but that's kind of cool. So you can see the start off at war with Epirus. Carthage is allied with Numidia, and they're also at war with Epirus. Moving further down, Epirus starts off a war with like everyone, so poor guys. Bactria is at war with the Sakaruka, which is the people up here. Haystan's neutral. Pontus is at war with Egypt. Parthia is at war with no one. The Edui and the Arvanoi, I think, Arunoi or something like that, are both allied together. The Britannois allied with nobody, so they're neutral. These are all pretty neutral. Suko Rukor, we covered that. Pergamon's allied with Seleucids. The Luagianus is allied with the Bui. Is that where are they? Oh, they're the people up there. Alright, those two are allied. So yeah, they're quite cool. Anyway, Seleucids, yeah. So Seleucids are big. Moving up, you've got Parthia, which I believe start off as a... Well, they were meant to start off as a horde faction, but I think they just put them in the settlements to... Probably for balancing reasons, I imagine. Their units and family members are quite spread out, which is a little strange, but... it might be better to give them some more units, but I doubt this mod will ever be changed, because this mod is quite old. However, it's aged very well. And then over here, you've got the Saramatai, or the Saramantians, I'm going to call them. So as you can see, quite spread out up here. And very tribal, as you can see. So about 4 settlements up there. Moving over to the Bosporans, which is down here. They hold a bit of Crimea, and to start off with 1 settlement. So very cool. The detail of the map is just fucking amazing. I just have to point that out. It's just so vibrant and just colourful, and just it feels like it's new and just it's just brilliant. It's all around a fun and just enjoyable mod. Over here you got Dacia, which starts here with a big army, and moving down to Greece, you got where Constantinople would be. Pergamon, which is built on the back of Troy, I think. The Trojan Wars happened, I think, 400 years before this, if I remember correctly, from my brief look of the Trojan Wars. Oh yes, didn't show the all of Egypt. So that's Jerusalem's like around here somewhere. And you got the Nabati, who are over here. And then moving down here, you got all of Arabia, all fleshed out, and the coastlines are drawn perfectly. And you got the Sabai people down here. Very cool. And you got some more Egypt lands here. Axum, which I recognise as a faction from Attila Total War. Miro and a bunch of Egyptian areas. So, very cool. Moving up a bit to Crete. As you can see, they've got a Greek guy, Aruus is over here apparently, just chilling on over at Crete. And moving up here, you got Sparta. I think I said Macedon. No, yeah, the Greek states I did say what the Athens and Sparta. The Epirus starts the Epirus. It's really just Epirus, isn't it? Epirus's armies start off down here, so they're sort of away from their forces, which is kind of strange. What's Epirus's no, they're at war with a lot of people. Okay, so playing Epirus is I imagine quite difficult. The statue of Zeus is here as well, which is cool. But yeah, very nice. So you got Macedon up here with the Macedonian king, not Macedon, not the Macedonian, Demetrius, and that just seems to be one settlement. Yeah, no, two settlements. Sorry. Yeah, very cool. Oh yes, and Pontus is up here, aren't they? And the Hayastan people as well. Very cool. And obviously Epirus has covered that. Moving over to the Romans. As you can see, the Roman cities look quite nice. Got a few rebels around. Obviously, they have custom voice lines as well. So yeah, I'm not sure where the voice lines are taken from. Probably from various media with Rome in, I'd imagine. Carthage owns a bit of this. And obviously Roma. And northern Italy is completely rebel as well. Which shows the Romans need to actually take it. Carthage own all this. And then moving down a bit. Carthage is over here. Obviously North Africa is down here. So you can sort of just conquer some of this. You can't get down and conquer this, I do believe. I'm not entirely sure because it doesn't seem to be an impassable area at all. So maybe you can conquer this. The Eremos region is essentially the impassable region. So if you take this settlement, you get control of this. Because Eremos is also owned by... this region counts as quite a few things. So it counts as all this around here. It counts as this, which is a bit odd. And it counts as this little bit up here in Norway. So yeah, it's quite interesting that how they've done that with the impassable regions. So you got Numidia up here, which isn't called Numidia. They're called the Massilian, which I think is the more historically accurate name for them. Here you have Carthage with a massive. I love. Wow, the ports look massive. I like that. That's cool. And you got some more cities around there, so very nice. And moving down here to southern Iberia, you got another Carthage place down here, and you got the Lusitani. You start with one settlement. I can't see another. Oh no, there's another army up here. And you got the other Spanish nation, the Sequiza, I think. So they start off over here. And then moving up into France, or Gallia, I think, in this time period. You got the, who is it, the Auroni over here, and you got the other Gallic, the Edui over here as well. So they're not too, like allied into, they're not like gonna go immediately to war, which is why they're whole allied from the beginning of the game. Then moving, we'll cover Britain last because it's my favourite place because I live there. That's essentially why. Not for various things the British people have done in the past. The boy over here, and you got the speedboat up here, so a nice little position to go north and attack Scandinavia, which again that's quite nice. Not many settlements up here. It's obviously not going to be that many settlements in the north because of how cold it is and how inhospitable it would be, I think. So a few Scandinavians. So all you need to do to take Scandinavia, you just need to take those two settlements. Obviously, some more Russia up this bit as we had a look at. You got the other faction here, the Lugians. Moving down, you got the bow. I've covered those that I'm talking about. Yeah, Dacia here, I've showed you them, so that's this little bit. And let's end it off with having a look at Britain. Now, as you can see, the Britanniae, which start off down here, with quite a few armies about. But yeah, obviously one settlement. Turns per year. I'm not actually sure how many turns it is per year. I think it's 6 or 4. I'm not 100% sure on that. Religions, you got Arab nomadism, steppe nomadism, Eastern Imperial, Eastern tribal states, Western tribal states, pastoral tribalism, the Western Mediterranean polities, I think, the Hellenistic policies, I think, is it polities or, I'm pretty sure it's polities, and the urbanized tribal states. So there's quite a few things there. So yeah, instead of it being called turns, it's called seasons, which is I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. So yeah, as you can see, it's sort of it's Winchester's sort of round here, I think. Where's fort is, I would say. Stonehenge is here, of course. So this is more like Dorset, I think. It's been a while since I've been to Dorset, but I would say it's more Dorset area. And as you can see, the rest of the British Isles is all rebel. These little curves here on the coastline are bits where you can't actually land on. So you can only land on like these little smooth bits here. You can't land on them. It's to stop people being able to naval invade so easily. The Moradunum, which is just sort of western Pembroke. I was going to say Cardiff, but Cardiff's over here. And then you got the Sermanion, which is sort of Belfast, up this area in Ireland. And this, as you can see, this bit is also Eremos. Eremos is the rebel bit here. So when you so it's weird, but if you'd be able to take the African bit, but it's made to point out this part is impassable and just on the you can't live there because the place is just, you know, it's inhospitable essentially. That's what I'm trying to get at. And there's where Edinburgh would be, so Scotland. But I'm going to turn this music down because it's just me, but I find it quite loud. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this mod. It's obviously quite fantastic. It's so much detail has gone to this, so it's a huge amount of work. The units are completely detailed. The factions are just all around fleshed out as much as they can be, and the work that's gone into this is just fantastic. So a huge respect to the modders for the work they put into this. I mean, I have respect for anyone that does a bit of modding, because like it takes a lot of work and a lot of time goes into them. Because and the modding is literally, you don't get paid to mod, it's literally all for free. So huge rep to people that do that, and wow. But yeah, my final thoughts, I would say for the mod, there probably isn't that much. Obviously, the final thoughts is that it's brilliant. It's a fantastic mod. So there's not really much I would say. One thing I did touch on earlier was the fact that they could probably use the new guy faction for another faction slot. Perhaps it, you know, maybe another Indian nation or somewhere else, but that's up for speculation really. But I do think that perhaps they could have used it for another slot. I am aware that I think 29 factions can only appear on the campaign select screen, so perhaps if you were to put another faction in, it would have to be unplayable. Perhaps a horde faction that would spawn in later on or something like that. I mean, I would say the Huns, but that's probably a bit too far off. One thing I note here is the mountains go up and down. I don't know why that is, but it's just a little bug, but who cares? It's you're not really going to be looking at this very often anyway. But yeah, I don't really have that many final thoughts. I just think the mod's great. I think but the only thing I would say is choose the new guy faction slot for something else, I would say, but that's it. Or perhaps they could have used another faction into Britain as well. But obviously there are faction slot limits, so you can't put too many in, so yeah. But yeah, a fantastic mod, and yeah, just very happy. It's a great mod. I'm looking forward to playing it at some point. And yeah, if you have any factions you'd like me to play for this mod in the future, feel free to suggest them in the comment section below, and I will make a note of them, and hopefully get around to playing them in the future. There are quite a few factions that I've already think I've been suggested to play, or just ones I personally find interesting to play. Is Britain. I want to play as the Britons. Egypt is fine. I find them quite interesting because it's a nice little faction that isn't Egypt but without Bronze Age, so I quite like them. Carthage was also suggested by a friend of mine to play as well, which I think will be quite an interesting one. And of course, Rome is a cool faction as well. So there are a few factions I probably play, perhaps even the Indian nations. They're also quite cool as well. But yeah, that's literally it for this video. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have shown some interest in downloading this mod. I would highly recommend you do so. It's very enjoyable. And I guess I would say it ties in the wait before Rome Remastered. However, Rome Remastered is coming out in a few days, so it's not too far away. But anyway, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you give this mod a go. It's definitely worth it. Worth the download space, I'd say. But yes, I hope feel free to suggest any more mods you would like me to cover in the future. But that's all for now. I thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Farewell.